Jennifer Beals has had the good fortune of playing not one but two iconic roles, an 80s-era welder/exotic dancer and a very 21st century career-oriented but commitment-challenged lesbian. Now the Golden Globe nominee has another potential breakout role, Chicago's top cop Teresa Colvin. Beals stars in The Chicago Code, which premieres next Monday on Fox. The show is set in Chicago and the production has plenty of other local ties. For example, the creator is Sean Ryan, who hails from Rockford, Illinois, and a Chicago detective is on staff to check the show's accuracy and atmosphere. Of course, Jennifer Beals has her own Chicago connection. She's a native of the South Side, and I want to welcome you to 848, Miss Jennifer Beals.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Can you talk a little bit about your character, Teresa Colvin? How do you understand this woman?
Well, she's, just basically she's the first female superintendent of the Chicago Police Department. She's a woman who's come up through the ranks. She's been everything from a beat cop to a homicide detective to working on a tactical team, and so understands really the need of the police officers, their specific needs. But, she is a woman in a predominantly male atmosphere, and not only predominantly male atmosphere, but, almost like a paramilitary kind of atmosphere where the structure within the organization is very hierarchical. So it's really been a challenge to see how she comes into her own kind of leadership and who she becomes, given the huge tasks that she's put before her.
Yeah, I was thinking about that, because the series, The L Word, is full of kind of glamorous, high-end lifestyles. But
yes, no, I don't have the L Word wardrobe, that's for sure.
Yeah, and that kind of atmosphere of it was almost all women, and now there's this very different kind of female power going on in the Chicago Code. What does that allow you to play with as an actress that, Teresa's high-powered woman, but her world is almost entirely men?
Well, first of all, I have to say that I'm incredibly grateful for the L Word for many reasons, but, one of which at this particular point in time is that I feel like playing Bette Porter helped me prepare to play Teresa Colvin, and that I played, Bette Porter was a very driven woman, a very ambitious woman who was very righteous at times and had her own battles that she set before herself. That had to do with representation and representing a larger group of people. She wasn't just about herself. But certainly Teresa is very different. She's very comfortable with her own physicality and her own physical strength. She feels very comfortable with men. Really loves men and loves being around men. And has found a way to garner their respect up until a point. I think when she was a detective, when she was on a tactical team, she was very capable and very driven, and I think, was respected when she was on the street, though obviously had to work hard at earning that respect. But now she's in a different position. And now she's taking on not only the crime on the streets and the corruption within, the halls of politics, but she's also taking on the corruption within her own department, which doesn't make her the most popular person.
She's got a lot on her plate.
She's got a lot on her plate. So it's easy for the male officers to attack her, not only for her type of leadership, but also to be, to attack her on the level of gender, and attacking her gender.
Let's hear a scene from the Chicago Code. Now, you've got a powerhouse cast here, so this must be a lot of fun. Delroy Lindo, but this is with Jason Clarke, who plays Detective Jarek. I think it's Wasaki.
That's right.
And you guys are, he's your ally, but you also have to kind of lay down the law. Let's hear this scene.
Bellick feels safe enough to send the girlfriend out to pick it up.
Yeah, normally that would be very good police work.
What?
Except you managed to undermine my authority to every cop in this department by directly disobeying an order on the local news.
Yeah, well, I didn't think it applied to me.
Oh, really? Why? Because you're so special? You can disobey an order?
Yeah, because that's exactly how you made it sound. Special privileges taken any investigation in the city.
Never
that I want,
said
okay?
you could
And let me
disobey
remind
an
you,
order.
you're the one that dragged me into this let's take an Alderman Gibbons thing in the first place. So if I need to take a shortcut, I'll take a shortcut.
You know what? We just need to set some ground rules.
How can there be ground rules? We're taking on City Hall like no one else has ever done. You know, if this is going to be successful, somewhere down the track, you're going to need deniability.
You know, and I'm also going to need accountability, because I'm not going to let us become the monsters we are chasing.
You're going to love me, you're going to hate me, you're going to need me. But what matters is, do you trust me to do what is right by you?
I trust you in as far as you respect me.
I've got your back.
Go out there and get the name of the shooter.
The scene from the Chicago Code. You heard Jason Clarke. And our guest here on 848, Jennifer Beals. I mean, that must be a lot of fun working with these actors.
And Jason is such a wonderful, wonderful, generous, committed actor. I mean, he is like a dog with a bone. He will not let up. He will not leave that room until he gets the last bit of juice out of the scene, and is really helpful to everyone else as well. And I think that scene really sets up our characters' relationship so perfectly, because we're not afraid to argue with each other. We're not afraid to tell each other the truth. And at the end of the day, we do have each other's backs, and we do respect each other tremendously.
I wanted to ask you, I mean, you grew up here, and I wonder how much of the Chicago way or the Chicago Code is part of your experience of the city, that idea that, you know, there is this corruption running through the halls of power.
Well, but there's another Chicago Code, too, at play, which is one of the things that I love about the title. You know, there's the code of corruption, but there's also a tremendous code of ethics, and there's a code of integrity, and you know, as much corruption as there are always people who are willing to fight the corruption. And I think that's the side that she falls on, and it's just the challenge is that there are so many opportunities to become the corrupter in your pursuit of trying to clean up corruption, and it's a fine line, because at certain points it's very tempting to play the same kind of game.
You know, another pleasure of this series is that you are shooting in all kinds of locations around the city, and I wondered what it was like for you coming back to the city. I mean, do you feel like you're rediscovering it? Does it feel like, you know, this is ground you know well?
Sometimes I felt like I was in a time warp. Sometimes I felt like I was in, you know, with some kind of lucid dreaming, like in that film Inception, where you're in different levels of reality. You know, because I would walk by certain locales, and you know, I would have so many memories connected to so many different points in my life from one street corner. So it was interesting.
It's interesting, too, that the creator, Sean Ryan, who grew up in Rockford, but I know spent a lot of time in the city. Do you guys share stories? Do you have the same perceptions of Chicago?
Yes, well, and also I had spent some time in Rockford, so I knew Rockford as well.
Really?
Yeah.
So you've had, you know, this fortune of playing roles in Flashdance, but also to some extent in the L Word, where your characters become more than just those characters. They kind of speak to the broader kind of zeitgeist. And I'm wondering, are you hopeful for this with Teresa Colvin, that in some way she becomes part of a bigger cultural moment?
You know what? I just hope to go to work and to do a good job. I don't, you know, when I'm working on a scene, I'm not thinking about, you know, will the audience like this? Are people going to tune in? I'm really just trying to find the truth of the scene as much as I possibly can. And, you know, whatever happens after that is, you know, up to God, kind of. I just let it go after that.
Jennifer Beals stars as Chicago Police Superintendent Teresa Colvin in the new series, The Chicago Code. It premieres next Monday at 8 p.m. on Fox Chicago. Ms. Beals, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you. It's a pleasure.